Hey, this is Greg Yetter. It's been a while since I've posted because frankly, I didn't know which direction to take this channel. But after a lot of consideration, I want to focus on the business of product, taking insights from mentors who've built successful product businesses. As entrepreneurs, we're all on a journey, and I think it's helpful to digest lessons from those who are a few steps ahead of us, so we can more effectively build our own product businesses. In every episode, we'll take a look at a single business lesson, and as much as possible, I'll try to tie those lessons back to my own startup experiences. I don't personally know most of the mentors that we'll cover on this channel. These lessons are coming from reading autobiographies, listening to interviews, book summaries, courses, and similar content. Also, I don't think we should hero worship any of the people featured on this show. Everyone is flawed and often telling a story from their own first-person perspective. But if they've had success in one aspect of business, it's often worth it to examine their principles and frameworks to apply it to our own businesses. Today's lesson is going to come from one of the two mentors I refer to heavily in building my own hardware businesses. That mentor is Tony Fadell. If you don't recognize his name, perhaps you recognize some of his most successful products. Tony played a key role in the development of the Apple iPod and iPhone, and he co-founded Nest Labs, which made the Nest thermostat. Like most entrepreneurs, he had just as many failures as successes. In his book, Build, Tony covers failures at the companies General Magic and Philips. But those failures turned into key lessons that helped him build three of the most iconic electronics products of the last 20 years. And one of Tony's many lessons is outlining the three stages of evolution of a product. At the core of it, the first stage is all about shipping a minimum viable product to early adopters. The second stage is fixing the problems with that first product and improving unit economics. And the third phase is optimizing the business to net profitability. I'm going to break these stages down in more depth in the rest of this video. When you first set out to build your product, there are so many unknowns. You have to make hunches about what people want because you don't yet have that direct customer feedback you'd have if you were already selling a product. You're also working with a small team and usually a small budget, so you usually have to ruthlessly prioritize the feature set of the product. It's also critical that your first product is disruptive, representing a fundamental shift in how people do things. It's a tall order to create a unique product with a small team and budget, but this is the essence of disruption. The whole point of a minimum viable product is to ship the most essential feature set and leave everything unnecessary out. Be very clear about what you want to make, why you're making it, who you're making it for, and why people will buy it to get to this minimal feature set. Tony says you should aim to ship your first product after 9 to 18 months of product development. Also, during stage 1, you should expect your customer acquisition costs to be high and your unit economics to be terrible. You're not trying to scale the business yet, you're just trying to prove that people want to buy your disruptive product, even if it has some flaws. After shipping your product and giving it enough time to generate customer feedback, you should evaluate whether you achieved product market fit. If you can't prove that early adopters are buying V1, it's time to go back to the drawing board. Otherwise, if you do have product market fit, you can move on to V2. Even if you proved you have product market fit with version 1, there are going to be a lot of things that are bothering you at the beginning of the V2 stage. There were probably features you left out, and your marketing, sales, and support functions are probably not going to be where you want them to be. Even worse, you're going to be painfully aware of the issues your product has, whether it's bad customer reviews, return rates, or direct feedback from customers. Version 2 is really the opportunity to fix everything that's wrong with V1. In many cases, V2 is going to come pretty fast, let's say a year, because you'll be tired of hearing all that negative feedback and knowing how it inhibits your scale. While you can add some features to the product, Tony recommends keeping your feature set still quite limited. The main features you should add should be around nailing more parts of the customer journey to scale to a wider audience, but still keep things quite minimal. From a business perspective, the product fixes and improvements should help you get toward gross profitability on your second product, inching closer to a profitable business. After shipping V2 and gathering additional market feedback from that second release, you'll want to focus on refining your product and business. The focus at this stage should be less about the product and more about developing the business. Remember that a product is not just the product itself, but the entire customer experience. Some examples of what you can do are negotiating with suppliers to get better deals, improving your sales and support, and optimizing your marketing spend. Of course, you'll want to keep adding a limited number of features to nail more aspects of the customer journey, but you will also be focused on optimizing the cost of the product to get to net profitability. There are always opportunities to launch more product lines that are more at the V1 stage so that you can nail more aspects of the customer journey. And ultimately, this is a great approach to scaling your business. But keep in mind that by the time you're at stage 3 of scaling a product, you should be focused more on the business and less about the features of the product. Looking back at my own business, Restful, we just discontinued our version 1 as our version 2 is about to be released. Bedtime Bulb V1 was a light bulb meant to be used in the final hours before going to bed. The main idea was to reduce exposure to blue light before going to sleep, as blue light has been shown to have some negative impacts on sleep. We were able to acquire tens of thousands of customers and use the revenue from Bedtime Bulb V1 to fund marketing and new product development. We got feedback from many customers about what was great and what was not so good about the product. And Bedtime Bulb V2 is going to fix all the things that were wrong with Bedtime Bulb V1, as well as add a few additional key features. According to Tony's framework, here's what we got right when we developed Bedtime Bulb V1. When we initially developed the product, we intentionally designed it as a minimum viable product, or MVP. We stripped out all the unnecessary features, and this allowed us to validate our hypothesis that people would pay for a focused light and health product. It also allowed us to get direct feedback on the minimal feature set of the product. So we weren't getting extra feedback on features that weren't critical to this mission of reducing blue light at night before bed. We were also able to do something that's a little bit ahead of schedule with Bedtime Bulb V1, which was get the product to unit profitability on the cost of goods sold as well as the marketing. And that's something that's more in line with version 2 on Tony's matrix. Our version 2 product, Bedtime Bulb V2, is exactly what Tony suggests for the V2 stage. We're fixing all the issues with the V1 and we're slightly expanding the feature set. Despite a higher cost of goods sold for this product versus V1, these improvements that we're developing should lead to even better unit economics and higher customer satisfaction, which will get us to that point where we can start scaling the business. But there were a couple things I would have done differently in hindsight. Hearing all the negative feedback about that original product was super painful. Of course, negative feedback is to be expected on an MVP, but we should have been more proactive about fixing things. We actually started redeveloping the bulb just 1 year after releasing it, but that initial redesign failed. And now it's been 5.5 years since we initially released Bedtime Bulb V1. V2 is going to be way better than I had ever imagined, but that transition from V1 to V2 was too slow in my opinion. The other thing I would have done differently is focus on a customer acquisition strategy that would lead to declining customer acquisition costs over time. We made a significant amount of revenue through Amazon, and our customer acquisition costs on that channel were good, but they were steady and not declining. Our new launch strategy will be focused on having a more direct relationship with the customer. We still plan to be on Amazon, but Amazon will have a proportionally lower emphasis for version 2 as we focus on own channels like Shopify and Kickstarter. Overall, Tony's matrix is vindicating. It helps me justify the feelings I had in stage 1, as well as showing me that actually we're right on track with version 2. Even though it's taking longer to get from stage 1 to stage 2, we're still right on track with what to expect from our customers and our business. I'll be applying Tony's matrix to future versions of Bedtime Bulb, as well as other products we're working on, as it will help with pacing and avoiding mistakes. This is a perfect segue to talk about a product I've been working on with the Restful team and am extremely proud of. Bedtime Bulb V2 is, put simply, the best light bulb for use in the evening, in the hours before going to bed. Since the original Bedtime Bulb came out more than 5 years ago, the research has become clearer about the topics of blue light, flicker, color opponency, and near infrared. We've taken all this new research into account and built a light bulb that sets the standard for healthy light. One of the top features we're introducing with Bedtime Bulb V2 is irradiant, which is a feature that emits near infrared in addition to visible light. Research suggests that near infrared may aid in cell repair by promoting melatonin production, and an absence of near infrared in lighting may be harmful. Most lighting today does not emit near infrared, but Bedtime Bulb V2 does. We're also introducing a feature called perfect dimming. Bedtime Bulb V2 is the first modern light bulb to work with any standard dimmer. Dimming the light bulb down will further reduce blue light and increase near infrared, which helps you to prepare for sleep as the night goes on. There's so much more to it, including improved flicker, color quality, blue light, and reliability. We're launching Bedtime Bulb V2 early this year, so head over to the link in the description to sign up for updates and be the first to know when Bedtime Bulb V2 launches. So with all that said, I would love your feedback on this new video format. If you found it helpful, I'd love it if you subscribe to this channel. And I'll be back next week with another short business lesson. Thanks for your time and have a great day.